Hello, Martin. Welcome to episode 108 of Eliminate Rounds. You look shocked again.
No, I was just doing a little search in the ASL scenario archive.
Oh, were you?
And suddenly I'm on air. Yeah.
Well, funny you should
I'm even
say.
going to move you over because I'm looking askance. There you are, that's better. Yeah.
We can
Hello,
tell.
Dave.
Hello, Martin. We can tell what you're looking at because we can see it in your glasses. We look carefully.
Yes.
Don't ever play poker.
Yeah, I better close that other window. Yeah.
Talking of the scenario archive, you've led me
Yes.
into a great conversation. There is a new feature on the scenario archive. So for those that want to import their raw play-in history into the scenario archive, you can now do this. So it's a little bit convoluted, and I apologise that it's not smoother, but I can't go grab your data. And obviously, people that will still want to use raw should still use raw. I'm not trying to steal everybody, but I get a request every now and again for people that have a big, large play-in history. So the way you do it is if you get your play-in history up on Raw, and you'll see all your games played. There's a page inside Raw that does that. And you select all of that content, including the header row, which is like the titles of the scenario name and the date and things like that. And you copy that, including the header row, and you paste it into a spreadsheet, like Excel or Numbers or something like that, Google Sheets. And then once it's in the spreadsheet, copy it again. So you've done 2 copies because now you've basically got it into like a spreadsheet style format. And you go onto your My page on the Scenario Archive, and right at the bottom there is a box at the bottom, and you can paste in the contents of that, and select the date format. Whether it's because some spreadsheets have different dates, so they have either like 14 Mar 2010 or whatever, or sometimes they do 14/06/10 or whatever. But anyway, select the correct date format and hit import, and what it will do is it will match by scenario name and scenario ID if there's a like SP104 or something, and it will try and bring those in. Now it won't do duplicates, so if you've played the same person on the same day in the same scenario, it will only bring one of those because it doesn't really know the difference between you trying to import the file twice or whether you have just played the person twice. So that's one thing, but it will tell you there's duplicates, and it will help you get your thing in. If you can't get in there, drop me a note, contact me on the GameScore forums, or ASL Scenario Archive at gmail.com, and I will try to talk you through it. And a few people have now.
That's really good because people will have been playing for years and recording on Raw. And
Now it's not 100% because the problem is that sometimes the scenarios in Raw were named slightly differently.
Yes.
Sometimes people use different apostrophes and things like that. There's different styles of apostrophes, different styles of ellipses. Is that kind of plural? Ellipses?
Ellipsi,
yeah. Okay, thank you. But there are different ways. Who knows? There are different things of doing that. So sometimes scenario names don't quite match. And the trouble is, if you do a bit of a fuzzy match, you end up getting the wrong scenario. So I've kind of opted for this import to try and be exact, and then you can kind of try and figure it out if you want to get the exact ones in. But anyway, it kind of works to about 90% of the games. You might be luckier. And it will tell you the ones that you found. And then you can just change the scenario names if you need to and re-import it, and it will just bring in the new one. So that will work. So that's what you can do.
Excellent.
How you been anyway?
I've been good. Yeah, I've been preparing for some exams. I've got an exam in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay.
To become a mortgage advisor. I don't know if I've mentioned this on here. Tom Repetti has pointed out that we sometimes say the same things over and over again, and has devised a bingo game which people can tick off if we mention anything. There's interesting ones on there, like get a rule wrong. I think we get that ticked off virtually every episode.
Yeah.
So me becoming a mortgage broker might be the new one. Yeah.
That's not on anybody's bingo card, is it? But
not yet.
If they saw you walking down the street, though, they'd think, there goes a mortgage advisor.
They would definitely say that.
It's a nice, interesting kind of career change for you, and it's a role that you can kind of dip in, dip out as you need to. So
that's the idea. The idea is I can do it a little bit part time, and I might need to be full time while I'm sort of learning the ropes. But after that, I can just work hard if I want more money, and work less hard if I want to feel more retired.
Nice, very nice. No, that's very, very well. You're not going to drop the professional ASL player.
Oh, no.
Monica
No.
anytime.
I'm sure I shall continue to play Advanced Squad Leader, yeah.
We have to give a shout out to Bound in Fire. So this is the UK tournament in Blackpool that is taking place. I'm going to get the dates now while you wax lyrical about.
Well, it's in November.
Yep.
And anyone who's ever been to a UK tournament, chances are you've been to the hotel, the Headlands Hotel in Blackpool.
It's
the
13th to the 17th of November. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the first time that Simon's run it like this, but so usually how it used to run was that you would play a couple of games on Friday, a couple of games on Saturday, and one on Sunday morning. And the idea there is that you have up to 5 games to figure out a winner. And Simon has now split it into 2 divisions. So you have like a tough group of death that I seem to scrape into and then have to fight for every game. It's horrible. And then there's the group below, which just seem to have fun and laugh, and they enjoy themselves. So
yes,
I need to lose some more games to drop into that, which won't be hard for me to do that. But this year he's doing it so that there's 2 games on the Friday, and because you only need 8 or 4 games in total for each division. So 2 games on the Friday and 2 games on the Saturday, which means that the winner is kind of discovered on the Saturday night, which is when everyone is still around, which I think is
so much better.
Yeah, because often
I think even when people hang around, you can sense that they're jangling their keys, waiting to do the long drive back home because they got work the next day and stuff.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So and I always felt bad because especially sometimes like the final, which is an important thing. Like we had one when I think it was Toby and Jim Bishop, wasn't it? We're going to play the final.
Yeah.
And it just didn't have time on the Sunday morning. So it's a brilliant new. I think it's new. I think that Simon's trying out here.
I think people can just have a friendly game on Sunday morning, pick something small and have a friendly game if that's what people want to do. Though I suspect it'll be quite a quick league, feel quite quiet there perhaps, but we shall see. And of course that means that they've still got Thursday for the minis. So there'll be minis on the Thursday, and that's usually quite fun minis, isn't it? Because they tend to be a bit more friendly than the tournament games.
Yeah.
When traditionally, I guess people just picked up friendly games on Thursday. Would that have been what happened before?
Yeah, I think there was some minis as well previously.
Well, maybe there was minis as well.
But it's definitely and it's worth pointing out. So Bounding Fire tournament, how it works is the Bounding Fire guys send across some nearly ready to publish scenarios that need perhaps one final play test or something to kind of get a group of people playing it. So nobody has seen these scenarios before. In theory, I know sometimes people have play tested, and then there's a process for revealing that you've play tested these scenarios. But in theory, these are blind scenarios that are almost ready for publication. So you haven't got to feel like you've got to study the setups and things like that. It's always a little bit demoralising, is it, when you sit down to play a scenario and you've never played it before, and your opponent says, "Don't worry, I've not played any of these." So you go, "Great, okay." And then so you pick a scenario. I remember Gerard Burton doing this to me. And then he gets his folder out and he's got this set up and he's got it all. And he knows exactly which side he wants.
So he hasn't played it before, but he has thoroughly defended.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Prepared.
Yeah.
So, and he prepares so thoroughly, doesn't he? I know this is he's renowned for it. Yeah.
I think that if we go to war, Gerard is somewhere there with plans already planned out how we're going to invade whatever country we're off to. It's I think that's the. But anyway, so they can't do that for these kind of scenarios, and that's a nice feeling, I think, because it means you haven't got no more pressure on bits and pieces. So if you are interested in doing that, you can go to the Bounding Fire. You can just search Bounding Fire ASL tournament November 2024, and you can see that. Simon Staniforth does a great job as always. The tournament's in safe hands. He was you know what Simon's job was?
Of course, bank manager.
He was a risk. I think he was like in risk or something. He was.
Oh right.
I think it was something like that. I mean, credit or risk or something. But it's like that's the man that you want the safe keys, isn't it? He is. Yeah. He's a safe man. He's not going to go off and motorbike off a cliff edge, is he? I know he does some walking sometimes, and I've heard sometimes he breaks into a slow trot on these walks.
Oh really?
Maybe he's just downhill when he.
He's a very good tournament organizer and a very likeable chap as well.
It's very true. It's very true. And of course, Martin Mayers was doing a great job before, and he's decided to pass on the baton. I think fully.
That's right. I think they did it together for a while, didn't they? I'm not sure if Martin or Simon was the front man or whether they just shared the burden. I'm not sure. But,
Yeah, it's a bit like Penn and
Martin
Teller.
was,
I felt like it was like
Penn and Teller. Yeah, Ant and Deck for the British viewers. Yeah.
I was just thinking more of the size difference
Laurel
of
and
the two.
Hardy. That's it. Laurel and Hardy. That's the right comparison.
But both did a great job, and I am looking forward to it. You're not sure yet if you're going.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure I'm not going to be going, actually. I mean, it's possible that last minute I'll just feel left out and go, but I think I'm not going this year.
Well, I hope you do manage it, but if you don't, you don't. I mean, we'll end up playing each other all Thursday.
Well, that's true.
Every chance we
but
can.
You're playing Arkham Horror for the first
on the
evening,
Wednesday night. Yeah, on the Wednesday night. So I think it's going to be me, Simon Taylor, Alex, the world champion and Welsh superstar, and Ian Ainsworth, who waxed lyrical about Arkham Horror in our Desert Island scenarios, Desert Island chat that we did a few years ago. So we're going to play a one night.
So clearly, it's Ian that's going to win.
Well, it's a cooperative game, which is perfect. So we all win or lose. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We all win or lose together. So that's nice. That is nice. So that's that. That's what's going on. What did we play this week, Martin?
We played. Well,
put you on the spot.
One smart bastard, aren't you?
Well, there was a smart bastard.
The name of the scenario, one smart bastard.
And it's worth mentioning we played this because I got chatting to Pete Schelling, superstar scenario designer, obviously needs no introduction because we are going to play one of his scenarios, Hit It or Quit It, I think in the semi-final that we're perhaps playing already, and I'm not yet played with Tim, but we will start that at some point.
Some people have started.
Yes, because you're playing twice into it, aren't you?
No, I'm only playing one now. Me and Tom Tom Repetti are going to have a friendly game. Yeah.
Okay.
So Richard Webb and not me are going to we'll be the only ones playing this scenario.
Okay. So One Smart Bastard had no plays. It's from the Winter Offensive pack. No plays on Raw, no plays on the archive. So I promised Pete that we would play it. So of course I said to you, Martin, this is a great opportunity to play. We'll be the first person in the world. A world's first play this scenario. Yeah, never been. No ASL has looked at this scenario.
Never been play tested.
Never. No one's even touched it. So yeah, from the loins of Pete Schelling straight to our ASL platter.
Yes.
There's
an image for you.
Yeah. So we played it, and of course I didn't look at the scenario card before we said we were going to play it. I told you we were going to play it before I even looked at it. Then we pick up the scenario card. What do I see? I see 4 pillboxes, another 4 pillboxes, 4 caves, 12 very scared Japanese squads. But to be fair, heavy machine guns, 50 caliber machine guns, and then against them 20 7.68 Marines. That's horrifying. Yeah. So let's flick over to the Vassal map. We'll talk about this scenario. Okay. You are the Marines. I couldn't even get the balance out of you because, of course, this scenario has never been played, so I can't claim an unbalanced dog on this one. No. And the deal is that I have a whole bunch of hip bits and pieces. I can buy, according to my scenario card here, I can buy 30 points worth of stuff. Things like trench counters, which were 1 point, AP mines, AT mines, wire, concealment counters, tunnels, extra tunnels, and prepared fire zones as well, which I'd never played with before. So I thought, well, I have to.
Really?
No, I never played.
How's that happening? Because I have played at least twice with them.
Okay, yeah.
Must have been with somebody else, I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, and basically they're so trivially easy. So basically, they just turn. If you buy a vineyard one, it turns effectively the woods or whichever the terrain is in here into brush. So it's nice and inherent terrain, but effectively brush. So
and you can pay twice, can't you, and turn it into open ground? I think is the
possibly. Yeah. So yeah, that was I think that's right. Yeah, a factor. Yeah, per factor costs a point extra. So I did that. I got some mines, and it's worth mentioning. So the victory conditions are quite interesting. You've got to try and capture these 3rd level hill hexes, and there's 4 of them. You're going to get 3 points for every one of these.
2 points.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. 2 points.
That's all right.
Yeah, because I kept making that mistake all the way through the scenarios. Not very many. I kept thinking it was better than it was. So 2 points for every 3rd level hex, and I get 1 point for every Japanese squad in good order in a pillbox or a cave at the end of the scenario,
Yeah.
plus 1 point for every AFV I take out. And you have 4, is it 4 of them, 3, 4?
I have 4 AFVs. One of them really is Dozer.
That's right. We hadn't found the counter to start with, and so we were still looking for it before when you set up. So I think it comes on later on turn. I think we completely forgot. The Marines are completely terrifying in this scenario. It's a deluxe scenario. It's worth mentioning. So things like hand to hand is kind of optional for both sides. But you have, I think, is it 4 flamethrowers floating around, and you have the 10-2 leader. You've got a ridiculous 140 points worth of firepower just in the squads alone. It is petrifying. I've got 10. I have 10 447s. I have 5 347s. So in terms of like my firepower,
8 crews. Of course, you have to mention them with the Japanese.
I do. You're absolutely right because I got 4 medium machine guns. I've got 4 light machine guns. I've got 2 heavies, 2 mortars, 4 demo charges. I've got an anti-tank gun. I've got an infantry gun, and I've also got an armored cupular kind of guy here sitting in this area. So I kind of likened this to we've talked about this before, like the irresistible objects meeting the immovable force, and this kind of felt a little bit like that, where you got dug in Japanese. PTO is not in effect, but the fortifications are as if PTO is in effect. So they're all hip to start with. And I think one of the challenges with this scenario or scenarios like this is this idea of there's no, like recently there have been scenarios that kind of reveal all the hidden stuff on a certain turn to give you a chance of finding things on the last turn to make sure that it doesn't go kind of crazy for you. And that's one of the challenges because you've got to find it. Obviously, if you take all 8 hill hexes, I win based on the fact that I've still got all the 12 pills boxes and caves. And so you have to clear me out of over 4 of those areas because if you, 2, isn't it? Because you get to 10 and I would get to 10. So yeah, it's over 2. You've got to get 3 of my pillboxes.
But it's worth saying that they're all linked with tunnels as well, so you can reoccupy them.
Exactly. And the key rule here as well is that they are linked with tunnels, but they can go under different levels as well. There's an SSR around that. So it's very, very difficult in terms of from the Marines to really know. You're gonna kind of like whack-a-mole, aren't you? You're gonna hit the Japanese, and then they might come back into the tunnel or the pillbox again. And obviously the caves are always going to be accessible to them because you can't go into the caves. I think that's
correct.
Part of the caves rule.
I mean, there are ways of destroying them.
Right.
There are ways of destroying them.
Right.
I've got 4 demolition charges which can be used for that, and the Dozer can.
Yes, exactly that.
Also destroying caves. And the thing about pillboxes is I can occupy them. So even if you re-infiltrate, you'd have to win the close combat. But I think you come back concealed, don't you, when you emerge from tunnels? So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
But is there ambush? There may be no ambush anyway in a pillbox.
For pillbox, no. Well, you get the +2 thing, don't you? You get the +2 against the pillbox.
If you're all in the pillbox.
If some are in the pillbox.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think you have to. Well, we didn't have that bit, so I don't think
we didn't have that situation though.
I've also got obviously Tank Hunter Heroes hipped, ready to go, and you can see those guys here and here and here and here. I've got the infantry gun pointing here. I obviously can't bore sight, but I've got some kind of protection. I've got my anti-tank gun pointing down here just in case you kind of come around the side this way. I didn't do a great job of the setup here because I obviously needed to realise that this was the stronger area to defend because of the three level 3s rather than the 1 on this side. But I also thought that maybe you try and swing around a little bit because I thought, well, maybe you think this was much less defended than it really was. But as it turned out, I didn't really catch the tanks out other than, I think I got Tank Hunter Hero once, didn't I? But we'll go through it.
We'll see that, yeah.
So what was your thoughts on this one?
Well, I always find these sorts of things quite difficult because you've got this, like in a normal scenario, you capture a building and you've kind of got the building, haven't you? And you can be conscious of how you're going to defend it and prevent it while you capture more. But I was very intimidated by this idea of I don't know what you've got there in terms of defences. I can't see very much on the board at all, but there's lots there. I couldn't get my head around the best strategy, bearing in mind that you could re-infiltrate into the victory condition
Yes. Yeah.
positions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've also got quite a difficult approach. I mean, it's worth saying this is not shell holes,
That's
is it?
right.
This is debris.
Debris. That's correct.
So this is going to slow down my approach. It's going to make it more difficult for me with the tanks. I could have used the dozer to force a route. Actually, I don't know if you can even clear debris with dozers.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be a trial break.
But
yeah.
But it was more difficult. It's a relatively difficult kind of approach. But I thought go strong one side.
Yeah, absolutely. I made some mistakes as well in my setup. So my 50 cal is sitting up here behind this hill in a pillbox, which really isn't going to get very much use. And I kind of it needed to be. I mean, I think probably up here is probably the best place for it.
It's a fairly key position, isn't it?
Yeah. The problem here is that in theory, you're going to be here and you'll advance up in in your last turn, and this guy won't get a chance to fire. Yeah. I'd kind of realised that as I kind of went through. A lot of the time, I'd kind of forgotten about caves that are on the lower level, not on the higher level of the hills. So you've got to be aware that caves aren't kind of they're not going to see across much.
Yes, that's
so
right.
They're going to get hindered by the debris a lot of times.
Yeah.
But all in all, I kind of thought, well, okay, we'll see. 7.5 turns as well is a long time, I think, for the Marines to effectively move. What is it? I mean, is it 9 hexes or something? It's not. It's not
true.
huge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So you could almost assault with advance, and you would make it in.
Yes.
So it's scary time. So let's have a look and see what happened. You can feel free to talk us through. The snipers are worth mentioning. So snipers 5 for the Japanese and 3 for the Americans.
Yes.
And obviously we'll have no problems with fire because it's moist this time, and you don't have your.
Of course, there'd be no trouble with
no
fire,
trouble with fire.
No.
After our last scenario. So off you go.
And relatively cautiously.
Yeah, I'm going to just load the continuation because I think we stopped at this point.
I think we had vassal issues or something.
Let's blame vassal.
Yeah,
let's blame vassal. Okay, so let's carry on. All right.
Here they come.
Yeah, here they come, and here comes the big flamethrower.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm leading with that, but interesting.
Yeah. Now here's a mistake that I made straight away. So I got excited thinking, I got a tank hunter hero here. You've stopped here. I'm going to run him out. And of course, tank hunter heroes make their charge in my turn unless you're in the hex.
Yeah.
So what do we do here? We have a debate about this is a bit awkward because this is kind of a key position I've messed up.
Yeah.
You are, of course, the gentleman, and you're like, okay, well, what you got to do is pick a new hex for him, and if you pick a new hex, then we'll, you can put him back in a different hex. So I think I do that at some point, so you might see this guy move. But I have got a guy next to him, which I'm kind of conscious, thinking, well, okay, if you find this guy, you might think that this guy is this guy.
Yes.
Okay, kind of messes you up a bit. Here comes the final firing. It's the absolutely useless fire here from this pillbox or this cave.
It's defensive fire,
just because it's not
a pillbox, isn't it? Pillbox,
no, this is caves. I got the wrong counter out. You'll see I changed them.
Okay. Oh yes, yeah. That did throw me actually, Dave, because they have a different covered arc, don't they? Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I mean, listen, mark your bingo cards off. We got some setup wrong. We know that we got the setup wrong in the last scenario. I obviously didn't know because I was doing my setup. I knew my setup was right.
Yeah.
You had cheated crazily on the flamey scenario with your setup. It happens, doesn't it? I mean, I think this is one of those things that, we can still enjoy it without without playing by the rules.
We try and play by the rules.
We do try. We try very hard.
So a nice little sort of area there with residual, the kind of the line of residual. I think that's very good.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, okay, you get a tank hunter hero here.
Yeah.
He gets no anti-tank magnetic mines. He fails his attack, and you just carry on. But you do now. I think you're probably into a little bit of a lulled into a sense of security here, because perhaps you believe that the one that I originally showed you, which I didn't move, which
has been revealed. Yeah,
so it's sitting in C4
yeah.
now. So
I mean, I am sort of thinking I've got a lot of powerful infantry around for your movement phase.
Absolutely. And we know that the Japanese, they do struggle. They kind of melt away. We know this, but in the face of these massive 7.68s, I mean, they are crazy. But I do get some good sniper action, and that starts to break a few guys.
It gets a bit locked down at the back, doesn't it? Your sniper, I think.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So a little bit of pinning going on.
We've got a few brokies as well.
Yep. And that's from
and I think that
these
was
guys here. Yeah, one of the hip.
Some death as well.
The hip guys here come and surprise you with a mortar, and then you get a double one on the to hit and a double one on the to kill on your.
But it's moist. It's not going to spread.
It won't spread. Of course, it won't spread.
No.
What's the chance of this spreading?
What's the chance of that becoming impactful to the end of the game?
Exactly. You do a fire. This is your flamethrower that you're about to fire?
Might be. No, this infantry firing at the moment.
All right, you've got.
I have no effect, so I use that. Of course, I use it, and of course, malfunction it.
Exactly. Yeah, there's your recall of your.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Now, good players will tell you that you use that flamethrower as a threat, not as a. As a weapon, but we're not good players.
And I don't listen to good players.
What do they know? They have to play in the tough sections of the tournaments. You get to play the fun sections.
Yeah, I think all this kind of playing sensibly is it's just another way of cheating, really. Isn't it? It means you got a tank flamethrower at the end of the scenario to guarantee the win.
Has anybody ever taken a flamethrower shot in the last turn of the scenario? Has that ever happened? But you are making progress. You are.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only 5 hexes away now from the victory conditions. I mean, it's.
I'm glad the cupola is gone, or the dug-in tank, or whatever it was.
Yes. Yeah.
The guys with a DC and A4 are unlikely to last long.
Yeah, they throw their DC and do some work. Going on there. We have some. I think we get some problems here with the prep firing here.
You moving guys up.
Yeah. So I have to start
the problem really of attacking all on one side is that you can move everything across.
Yes.
But I'm kind of hoping to crack the outer shell before they get there.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's my plan.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable.
People will be able to make up their own mind at the end of this whether or not I do.
So you've mouthed the other tank as well now.
Yes.
And that's my problem. So now my other tank hunter hero jumps in. So we've got concealed guys jump into here, and this is obviously the best chance for Japanese to deal with these guys here. So we jump in here. I get the ambush, I think.
Looks like it.
And knock you out with the 3, and then obviously advance back out again.
Yeah.
The tank hunter hero gets his anti-tank magnetic mines and destroys that guy as well.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't feel great at the moment at this point in the game. I'm not feeling too happy.
No, exactly. And that point is important because it kind of means you have to clear out another pillbox, assuming you're going to get. If the Americans only get 3 of those hills, you're on 6 points, which really means, and obviously the Japanese have another one for the 1 point for the tank. So basically, you've got to clear out the majority of these pillboxes or caves, and we know that's hard work. But it's hard work. You do repair the main armament. You told me you weren't going to bother with this, but then we talked about it, and then you realised that it doesn't matter if it gets recalled. There's no loss of the.
Yeah, exactly. It just seemed to make sense to just crack on and try and repair it. And luckily, I rolled a 1 straight away, so it was.
Do you think that was an over? I mean, like how dare we say that it's an oversight? We have no idea. But would you have expected to see an extra point for the Japanese for each recall tank as well as not just eliminated, or do you think that's?
No, I think I mean, it's for eliminating tanks, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
that recall tank presumably comes back.
Yeah, it comes back
A few
tomorrow.
hours later, doesn't it? Yeah.
It felt like for me, it felt like that should have been a point. But,
I mean, it's a big benefit. I mean, that flamethrower would have made my life
yeah,
an awful lot easier
yeah,
once I start attacking these cave pillboxes.
yeah. But you get smart and you start throwing smoke around, and that's a huge problem. And I've got a blaze to deal with as well. But it's not. Then you start running into some of my minefields, which is always good fun.
Which was always likely, I suppose, wasn't it?
And this one squad has kind of obviously he's destroyed one of the squads. He's held up two of the others. You've got a broken guy down here. It's that left hand side attack has kind of struggled.
It's already struggling, faltering.
So you make a little bit of progress though. And we
the problem is, how am I going to advance onto those pillboxes and caves and things?
Right.
It's going to CX me whatever happens, for close combat and stuff.
But,
we'll see.
The blaze spreads, the wreck blaze spreads into the terrain blaze. So we get the blaze there. So that's now.
And almost everything I have that moved into those mines is broken. I've got a few brokies up at the front. And of course, they can't do anything, can they? Because they're broken in a minefield. They can't even routing out is dangerous.
Yes, exactly. So we jump onto our next session. And so we've got the problem now that if the blaze starts to spread into this higher level terrain, we that's I mean, I don't know if that's where you were planning to come through, but it kind of makes a lot of sense. One of the challenges you've got is I can get back into the caves. I can't go back into the pillboxes in the blazes, but in the caves you can. So if there's a blaze in that terrain,
it guarantees the point for you a bit, doesn't
as long as I've got a guy in there, yes, in there. But
you can get a guy back into it.
Obviously, you could shoot,
clear them out, perhaps, but
but you can't. You can't necessarily. It's like obviously I'm shrouded in smoke as well as the TEM and everything. So it's.
But you're more likely to abandon it, aren't you? You're more likely to abandon it and reoccupy it. I think towards the end of the scenario. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to come up with a new rule very shortly that we found out, but that's going to come. So of course the blaze starts spreading. You can start seeing that we're getting some high rolls there for the blazes.
Yeah, it's moist, but it'd been raining diesel, hadn't it? Apparently.
The moist cancelling out the effect of one level higher.
That's right. Yeah, it's actually perfectly possible for these things to spread. It's like it's greater. It's not massively unlikely.
Right, exactly.
As I seem to remember.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, it's decent chance of it spreading at some point.
Yeah.
So we find out that the caves are not those that got the wrong counters. So I swap those cave counters over. So, and to be fair, it hurts me a little bit because my covered arc is terrible for this kind of front area here. I do still have a pillbox here. Now, an interesting rule here that I kind of picked up on, I think from an FAQ. If you fire into a with a tank, for example, into a hex as like an infantry target type into the hex with the pillbox, if you don't declare a pillbox as a target, you don't hit it because regardless of the hit, because it's a different location, is my understanding. So you have to be a little bit specific about what you're firing at when you're firing into either empty hexes that you think might have a hip guy, which is all a bit weird.
So the thing is that as the Americans, if I'm firing into an empty hex that I suspect has got a pillbox in it, even though I don't know there's a pillbox there, I have to say I am firing at the potential pillbox in that hex.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Otherwise, I could get a morale check and whatever. You don't need to declare, but I've got a TEM, I'm okay here.
Yeah, so if there was, for example, if there was a hidden pillbox and some guys outside of the pillbox, and you say I'm firing at these guys here, the guys outside the pillbox. I don't think the guys in the pillbox are affected at all because you've not declared them as. Now that I might be wrong there, but someone will correct us in the YouTube comments. But I believe.
So the reason it slightly surprises me is because if there was a pillbox non-hip and infantry inside it and outside it, they would all be affected potentially by a shot, wouldn't they?
Well, it's two different locations. So if you were firing like an area target type shot, I believe that would be fine.
Okay.
I believe. Again, like someone will correct us. But anyway, but it came up. I did find a discussion about it, talking about this exact problem, and my understanding. But again, like hey, who knows? Was that you had to declare what you were shooting at, which of course is a bit crazy because so it doesn't obviously if you've got a hip gun, it doesn't make a difference because the gun is in the same location as the thing you're firing at. But anyway,
trenches, foxholes, they're all in the same location.
And obviously, if I reveal my guys in a pillbox, but let's say I don't reveal the pillbox because I haven't had to or whatever, I can't remember if it shares the. But anyway, obviously, then you would hit the pillbox if I use the TM and I reveal the pillbox at that point when I use the TM. So you haven't got to. I don't say you missed because you didn't declare the pillbox there. You're firing at the guys in the pillbox. But anyway, that's one of the kind of little kind of foibles that we came up with here.
Yeah.
The infantry guns wakes up and decides it should start firing because it's not doing a lot out here.
No.
You do some advancing fire. But not a lot really. Not a lot of effect really.
It's very difficult to get an effect, even though I've got like very, very high firepower.
Yeah. It's all about the flamethrowers, isn't it? Really, it's the flamethrowers will do stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We do get some close combat though. You're jumping up with the CX Marines in the smoke, in the pill against the pillbox. The cell indicates the tunnels that I'm jumping through. Now we have a bit of a debate here about the stacking capacity of tunnels, and you can't overstack a tunnel, but if you I think that the tunnel stacking capacity is 3, but then the cave stacking capacity is only 1. You can't. It all gets a bit complicated. So we could well have played this incorrectly.
But you can Well, we believe you can overstack a cave, didn't we? I think.
Yes, I think you. Yeah, I think that was.
Can you overstack pillboxes? No, you can't overstack.
Don't think so.
No. But you can caves. Is
yeah,
that right.
I think so. I think we looked up and we kind of tried to work it out. But again, it was, and I don't know whether these are the kind of things that come up. Why I think people tend to avoid cave scenarios, or because there's a lot of rules that we were like double checking throughout. It wasn't like wasn't a smooth game, was it? It was quite a complicated game. We're going up tunnels and we're jumping out of tunnels, and then we're in overstacked locations, and how are we actually handling this? Okay, so there's I reveal the blaze, the pillboxes there. We're doing a little bit of CC, and I think there's a bit of
that's a result for me, because that's essentially a pillbox destroyed, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And I've got into this wood, this sort of 3 hex wood on the left now as well, which is which feels like a something. It's not been easy.
Exactly. Now you didn't do the TI was a search there. You didn't do an awful lot of searching. No. And I think that's what you had to be doing to find those pillboxes, because that's the thing to obviously reveal them all. The anti-tank gun reveals itself, breaks the guys here. So I break these guys. I then follow up with this. I've got whatever it is, a 8 down 2 shot here against these guys. Of course, I take it against.
But you don't take the shot from D4.
D4 I did this time. This is one I did take.
Okay, right,
sorry, not E5. E5 I didn't take the shot.
E5 you didn't take the shot.
Yeah, because it's at the wrong covered arc. But you don't know that. You don't know that.
No.
So then you get a double 1. You rally the guy. You berserk him. You jump into my. I'm like, oh,
that did feel good.
Yeah, but I did manage to kill the leader. From the guys in the pillbox.
Yeah.
But you're.
It's just a game of being. Do you know what? Actually, a really good place for mines would have been one or both of those woods hexes. Yeah. Because I constantly falling back to them, and actually they're I'm very effective at rallying because, I've got the Marines, so I've got some good leadership about.
Now you start to find my wire, and my wire was actually quite effective, I think, this time.
It was very effective. Yeah.
It's difficult. Almost a turn off, isn't it? Really, you hit the wire.
It's also I'm going into close combat, and it's with wire that it's effective.
Yes, yeah. We've seen that the blaze is now spreading a little bit more. The flames start coming. We love a flame. More wire.
Yeah.
You find now I have got
these are sort of in the bottoms of the hills now a little bit, but it's horrific, and there's only so many hexes I can move to. And you're defending them in strength. It's very difficult. And actually, I think that probably the blazes, although at first I thought they were helping me, are probably narrowing my frontage of attack.
We get a close combat here. You jump me in the pillbox, and you're CX on the wire. And I think it's a half squad. I think is what happens there. I think to start with, we thought it was a.
But it's not hand to hand because I'm initiating it, assuming you don't ambush me.
That's right.
I don't think you ambushed.
No, I don't think you can do hand to hand for a pillbox.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So on to the next.
I think we end up in melee.
Well, I don't think you. Yeah, pillbox. I'm not sure you can be in melee, but.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah. But we didn't.
But in continuation of the
mutual failure to destroy each other. Yeah,
exactly that. So you've got a broken guy at the top there. I've still got a bunch of guys ready to kind of come across from the left hand side.
Yes,
I start to think about bringing across. I got some dummies up here that I'm kind of just hoping I can just tempt you with a shot of some sort. You grab my mortar, which is a bit rude.
Yeah. I thought so.
But
it does as much for me as it did for you.
Yeah, very true, very true. We do have the blazes now creeping up this hill, which is problematic. But we start to look at the numbers here, don't we? In terms of what you've got to take on.
Exactly.
And it's looking difficult. I have all these broken guys. I've got the heavy machine gun up here. Is just kind of keeping these guys very very busy. And that's one of the challenges is
but they're very busy rallying.
They are. I think you look up the dozer rules.
Notice I've got the dozer into M5.
Yep.
And it's taking some time, but the idea is because it takes nearly all my movement to get up there. But the plan is to try and doze away the cave.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You look the rules up here.
Look the rules up. It's relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
What
do you need? What did you need to do to dozer a cave?
Well, it's a normal clearance attempt, so you need +1, but a dozer gives you -5. There might be other modifiers that particularly possibly, but that's good enough, isn't it? Because you can gain labour. You can get a labour counter if you fail it.
Right.
So you should, just with the dozer, you should get yourself to 9. 9 or less at some point. So it should be able to clear it.
I got a handy +1 there on this pillbox guy's holding off this hole. I did do well. So this is sort of struggling. You're trying to jump up this hill. Now you start firing at the pillboxes, don't you? We looked the rules up, so you can hit with AP as long as your to kill is greater than double the covered arc defense. The TM.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you do it on the AP equivalency, I think, isn't it?
Which is normally 2 for nearly all guns, isn't it? Yeah. But it means you can fire bazookas and things like that as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's what's going on there.
I feel like I'm finally making some progress, but of course I'm also running out of time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's turn 5 right now. And then I think it's time for the wind to come along now, isn't it? We get some.
Well, I think we're going to get some wind shortly.
Wind. Which here comes the wind. So smoke is going to come out on the advancing fire phase. We're going to see some smoke. Those blazes are now. The wind is going to now blow from the top right down.
Yeah.
So it kind of hinders the spread. Now you thought that was good for me, and I think the key thing is it wasn't going to hit this hex here. It was less likely to hit L3.
Yes.
And then we start looking at the rules, and you come up with the rule about how you can, because you didn't start the fire deliberately this time.
That's right.
If you surround the hexes and have the majority of adjacent hexes, you can consider yourself to have control of the hex.
That's right. Yeah. So I can still potentially gain control of L3 even if it catches fire.
Right.
Yeah.
So some more reinforcements of the hill. I get the dummies back. Finally reveal that You have a double one against me on that pillbox.
Yes.
So a timely reveal of the pillbox TEM.
The problem I've got is this is a cave, isn't it? And I can't even close combat it. I can't close combat a cave.
Which one?
The one in L3.
Yes, yeah.
Because I got a big stack in there with a -2 leader.
Right.
But he can't do anything.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing. More flames spreading, licking the edge of that clay cave.
Yeah.
It's all looking a bit grim. But these pillboxes on the left hand side are just not being threatened at all. Really, you've got I think you're on one last turn.
Yes.
At this point after this one, so you're moving this time on turn 6.
I think I changed direction. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this is the kind of like almost like the penultimate turn rush, and it's actually quite effective. You know, there's a little bit of breaking, but you do get some guys around. The flamethrowers are looking dangerous. They're in 2 hex range, which is important. That's long range, some might say. For the
been planning this, preparing, getting in the right position, 2 hexes away from the target.
Yeah,
12, still good.
This heavy machine gun on the top hill just keeps rate of fire when it needs it.
Yeah,
is able to do a little bit of damage.
Such a key position. That stone building is such a powerful position.
Yeah. But you get up the hill here. You're up the top of the hill.
Yeah. In some force.
My last turn, I have to try and figure out where my last stands are going to be.
Yeah.
We think that you need a minimum of 3 of the hill hexes for the 6 points, and then you need to get me out of 7 of the pillboxes. And obviously, I'm out of 1, 2, 3 here. You probably will get me out of this one if you're successful for 4. The others are looking a bit more tricky.
But, I'm struggling really. Yeah.
But you never know. You might get all 4 with a good run.
I'm kind of hoping to get all 4, get me on 8 points, all 4 hilltops. Yeah.
Right. So we have a last bit of my prep for, and I'm going to run the gun crew from the infantry gun on the left hand side.
Of course, yeah.
So just jump in here just to DM these guys here.
Yeah.
You're a bit unlucky with some of the rally attempts.
Mm-hmm.
And we get some heavy winds, don't we? So
we do.
So
one of the effects of which is that flamethrowers can't operate 2 hexes away.
Yeah, or long range. Yeah. So suddenly, that all your nicely placed flamethrowers
are less nicely placed.
Yeah, exactly. Which is I get a bit lucky with that.
The thing is, I think I realise that the only thing that's going to clear the L3 cave is a flamethrower at this point. So it kind of limits. It kind of forces my hand a little bit anyway. Right,
and I was desperate for this L4 build into a hex to go up in flames here, because I was thinking, well, okay, it's one less. It's one less.
I wouldn't be. I don't think I'd be able to do anything. I don't think I'd be able to approach that cave at all.
You run around. I ignore you. You don't get any kind of crazy bounding fire shots, but I do have to take the shots of the with the, and this is a 10 down 3 or something. I think it was pretty horrendous for that's 8 down 3 with the 10-1 there, keeping rate of fire. You're jumping in here with the, I think there's a flamethrower down here as well that's going to get hurt. He
flamethrowers everywhere.
10 down 4, 8 down 4 shot against him. And of course he keeps rate of fire, but he's fixed his covered arc for now. And then I'm able to swing around and do the last shots, and then we kind of call it here, don't we? It's
I don't know that we did we? I thought okay.
I think
I'm clearly not going to win at this point anyway.
Yeah, I think because I wounded this leader, and I think this guy down here couldn't get any further. I think that was the kind of the end of it really. And we looked at whether or not
it was tough. It was a tough nut to crack, as they say. I thought, as the Americans.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think I used all my assets, to their max, but it was interesting, and it did begin to make some progress.
The scenario got better and better throughout the game. Yeah. I think we were enjoying it much more at the end when we kind of had a good idea of what was going on. And I kind of revealed my pillbox at this point.
I think your defense is really good. I mean, I can't see any straightforward approach to this. Now I know where everything is.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's quite. I think it's a good defense.
Yeah. I am.
Horrible.
I'm just checking to make sure I didn't cheat you on the setup of on boards L&M. No, I'm okay. Yeah, I set up on boards L&M, so I was just checking I didn't cheat you on the the mine placements on this hex, but I was fine.
Yeah.
It was good fun. I think this scenario is, it's like would you say expert level? I think it's like if you are a good player, like you're going to get a lot of use out of a lot of the tools that you've got. You're going to be sneaky. There's no cave complexes, by the way. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
But you know, if you've got a sneaky Japanese player and you've got a player who knows how to assault caves and marines and stuff like that, and can get a lot out of their tanks, I think this is a very tight game. A lot more movement than I expected. I think a lot of the time you just kind of know that if you're in caves or in pillboxes, you're stuck there and you're not moving very much. This one was there was a lot more movement opportunities. There were a lot of decisions because of the tunnels. There were a lot of options available as to, okay, well, where am I going to move? And it's very easy to move. It's very easy to move and reposition your forces, which I appreciated a lot. I thought it was quite good fun.
Yeah.
It was good fun. I think, I was worried all the way through. I think you feel like you're doing fine, and then suddenly you're adjacent or you're a couple of hexes away from 3, 7, 6, 8s who are just horrendous. I mean, was it 20 firepower in assault fire coming at you? I mean, maybe even more than that, 24, is it?
So it'd be 20 normal, but if they're adjacent, it's 8 each, isn't it? So it's 24.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. It's amazing how quick it adds up. Even two of them are pretty horrendous, especially with a -2 leader and
exactly.
and a flamethrower and a different hex, so you can decide which one. Yeah, it's it was interesting. I've said this before, but I would love to watch a really, really good defender, our very own Toby, defending this against a really, really good attacking player. Not that Toby isn't a good attacking player as well, but his speciality is defense. Someone like Jim or whatever, somebody that we know well. But I'd love to watch that. I mean, people say this isn't a great spectator sport, and it's not. But I think something like this would be quite interesting to watch.
Yeah. No, exactly. The this really benefits from a vassal play. I think because you have so much hidden stuff, it's a tricky one to play on face to face, and so there is that to think about as a game. So vassal makes it very easy to play. Got to be fair.
Yeah.
It was good fun. It was good fun.
Yeah. So this scenario now is I mean, I think it is unbunbalanced. It's 100% pro-Japanese.
Literally impossible for the.
So I can't. I thought I did quite well considering it's 100%.
Yeah, you did very well. Very good. But it was good fun. So good stuff, Pete. Thank you for the thank you for the scenario suggestion, and go play One Smart Bastard. It's a good
Absolutely. So what sort of game are we going to play next? Do you think?
Well, okay, so I think when you're playing these kind of things, and we've talked about this before, like if we played a big red barricades kind of scenario, midway through that, I start to get a pang or give me something straightforward, fast, simple, not necessarily oversimple OOBs, but like Schwerpunk liked. And to celebrate the fact that Schwerpunk is coming back in our lives in Oktoberfest for Schwerpunk 24. I have no idea how we get a copy of that for now. I don't know when the UK retailers will get hold of that. We will definitely try to play something from Schwerpunk 24. I am very excited about that. I think that there are many, many very, very good third-party publishers that are generous enough with their time for generating scenarios for ISL, and of course MMP do a great job as well of the scenarios. The Friendly Fire guys, the Schwerpunk guys. When they stopped producing scenarios, I think it was almost like I put the time that I was getting Schwerpunk scenarios kind of semi-regularly, and people were playing them on a regular basis in like a little bubble of ASL history. Like it feels like that was a compartmentalized time. Yeah, people were talking about the new scenario from Schwerpunk. Okay, and I know they have a theme. It's very, very aggressive. You've got to run. You've got to know your stuff. You've got to be kind of quick. There's no dilly-dallying, and that can wear thin a little bit. Oh, it's another Schwerpunk scenario. Okay, I've got to CX my first turn. I've got to push forward. but a lot of it was also a very nice kind of like manageable meaty, no, not meaty, like a bite-sized, kind of tournament-size scenario. So I'm hanging for that. I'm kind of quite excited about playing something from.
Let's do that. We'll start this week. Yeah.
So we could play, and I don't know which one it is yet. We could play the most popular Schwerpunk scenario. We can have a look at it and see. So if you
have a look at it, but I think we'll pick something we want to play. But I think that would be a good place to start and see if that's one we fancy.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. I don't know yet what that would be, but we'll have
actually. My worry, it's almost certainly going to be a very playable scenario.
Yeah,
that's why it's the most played. My worry is that we've played it.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that will be an issue. One of the things we're going to talk about as well, just as a follow up from this, because we touched on it last time. We're talking about the resigning, and there was a comment on the YouTube chat as well about this, about resigning scenarios early, and the problem is because dice go against you sometimes, and because you either misunderstand a rule or whatever it can be. And there's never an incentive from the scenario point of view to resign early. There's from a scenario point of view, it's completely ambivalent. It doesn't care at what point you resign, and that is kind of ahistorical in terms of how war is fought and how battles are fought. And to some extent, campaign games address that. So a campaign game, you don't want to just throw everything forward, in a losing position. But there was a discussion about what about scenarios that try to reward an early resignation? So, for example, you're penalised if you lose by too much to take to maybe a sequence of scenarios, or you play unrelated scenarios, but you have the ability to kind of limit your losses in a scenario that's going badly.
So there is an example of this, I suppose, although it can work either way. And if they originally had it in Squad Leader, but it was converted for ASL, and that's the leader campaign.
Right.
Now you start with a 7-0 leader, both players, and I think there are rules where they get experience points for winning close combat. They might get a little bit. If they take out a tank on their own, they get like 5 points and sort of thing. So, and I think when you get to 10 points, the leader's promoted. So by the end of a campaign, if he doesn't get killed, you might find him sort of at an 8-1 or something like that.
Right.
So you would have the problem. So me and Nick tried to play this. We tried to play it with those Arnhem, those link. They're completely unrelated Arnhem scenarios, and it doesn't quite work because you've got Americans and British on one side, but we just carried the leader across. Just pretended he changed nationality for the day or whatever. But of course they get killed because they're just 7-0s.
Right.
And so the temptation is to use them to rally things, because I think they do get experience point for rallying.
Okay.
So it's so the thing is, if he was about to die, you might be tempted, if you were going to lose the scenario anyway,
resign at that point.
To resign to prevent his loss. Right. You do get an extra leader. That's a part of the thing. I don't know. That's the only example of that I can think of.
Yeah, that's very true. Could you resign like pre-close combat phase of
well, why not? You can resign whenever you like, can't you? Yeah.
And then he survives.
Actually, you could do your attack and not win, and then go, do you know what? I'm going to leave it there. You don't get to attack that.
That's very true. Very true. I had a quick look there for the most popular Schwerpunk scenarios. I think it's between things like Burn Gurkhagen, as you mentioned, £5 prize, which we've played.
Which we both played.
Yeah, there's a few that we would recognise the ones that have the most play-ins. There's a few. Holding the Hutton Bridge might be one that we could take a look at. But
I don't believe I've played it. Yeah.
I've got
two
play-ins.
I don't have a strong desire for a bridge crossing.
Okay, well, you've already lost it against
me. Which it might not be.
Just 16 years ago we played it, so I'm surprised you.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm surprised you forgot about it.
If it's the one I didn't, then I do know it. I can actually tell you what happened.
Are you serious?
Do you know what? This might be the scenario, which might be why I don't like bridge crossings.
Okay. Well, we'll figure something out. We'll play something fun from. But I like Martyrs Not Martyrs and things like that. I mean, that's kind of some fun fun scenarios.
Yeah, they're certainly fun. But yeah, we really need to pick one that we haven't played.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, following on from the conversation about the resignation and the fact that there's no incentives. The other talk was about tricks in scenarios. So arguably in the last scenario we played, the trick is to burn, and if you don't burn, you don't win almost. And that might be the extreme view of that one. And there's a kind of question about like is that a valid, I don't know, design point for a scenario around a trick? I got some thoughts, but I'm interested in your thoughts around, do you think that was a trick scenario? Do you think that was, it should?
I'm not sure that I would call that a trick. I mean, it's a standard rule, isn't it? You can start fires unless it specifies otherwise. It is a perfectly good way of restricting the advance of your opponent. It did occur to me on my own, but it only occurred to me after I'd set up. And then Ben said to me, "Oh yeah, have you caught on to the extra dry kind of thing?"
Right. Yeah.
But I hadn't caught on to just how impactful it would be. I suppose that's the thing. I hadn't realised as well that I had white phosphorus in the bazookas and in with the hand grenades, and there was a lot of ways that I could start fires, wasn't there? But I'm not. Yeah, I do accept that if you don't think of it, it's probably very difficult to win that as the Americans. But that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting because, like, if you think about where we are on the scale of from the start of ASL's history to now, we're probably in the twilight of the game system in terms of like the innovation and things like that. I think it's fair to say. Maybe not. So, trick scenarios, I think, are very important in terms of they teach you aspects about the game system, almost like a tutorial level, where it's like, okay, if you press this key now, you're doing this kind of thing. And certainly there should be, and I can't think of any, but I don't doubt there are some scenarios where very early on it teaches you the strength of kindling. Like there are scenarios that teach you how you have to rush. How do you deal with like a greater number of troops than you would usually do. So Hedgehog of Piepsk is a good example of like the quality versus quantity kind of debate. And you take those little lessons that you learn and you understand, throughout your whole playing. So if you come across, like for example, fighting withdrawal, we talked about the fact it's a strange one to start with in terms of its complexity, but it teaches you, okay, it's not just about sitting here and trying to fight toe to toe. You've got to think about movement as well, and it's a very important kind of lesson. Guards counterattack teaches you about massing fire and how do you time your run to another building. So I think there are definitely. I think sometimes the trick needs to be, although it was kind of pointed out in terms of the extra dry EC. I think if the title gives you some kind of hint, or for example, if the pre, what is it, like the kind of the scenario introduction part, or the briefing as it were, and or even in the aftermath. And I don't read those enough. I think maybe there should always be some hints in there about like kind of if thanks to Corporal Barker's lighter, the KPA were able to survive this or whatever.
I think we don't read those enough, and I'd be interested actually to know what other people do, whether they always read them or never read them, because they're there to make the scenario something of a journey, aren't they? You read that, you got a bit of an understanding that I don't know, Army Group Centre's in trouble again, and or whatever, but these guys could save the day or whatever, and then at the end you find out what really happened. Of course, you played it out yourself. Are we missing something by not reading that more? I mean, I'm interested in the history, but I never read them.
Yeah.
And I say never, virtually never. But I think it is a deliberate design feature. The idea of which is to make the whole thing a journey. You meet together. You got the whole day. You read it. You're excited about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
For other games, Arkham Horror is a great example, but there is a set story and you are in that story, and I think this is something we have to do more often. When we play a scenario, we should immerse ourselves a little bit in the 20 seconds it's going to take to read the intro.
Yeah.
and not necessarily read the last part until, because that's almost like a spoiler. I don't want to know
Yeah,
that my
sure.
guy's
Yeah, read that
lost.
at the end. Yeah, see if it went the same
Yeah.
way as it did for us. Yeah,
Yeah, we should do that more. And I don't know why.
yeah.
Why don't I think you just kind of you kind of midway
I
through
think very
through
often we're
encounters.
keen to just get on with the game. We love the game. We want to play the game. We're cracking on with the game. But I think we perhaps do miss a dimension to it by
Yeah.
not reading that. I mean, the one I know reasonably well is Hedgehog and Piepsk, and although it's actually a hypothetical scenario, isn't it? I don't think it's a real. I don't think it's a real place called Piepsk, but it's a very dramatic situation, and I quite like I enjoy the fact that I know roughly what the history is supposed to be,
Right.
of the scenario or the situation, the scenario. Yeah,
It's a great point, because
yeah.
I don't remember the aftermath of Hill 621. Is there an aftermath? We'll have to look it up. But that's a weird one, because it's a make believe scenario. So what did they put for the aftermath of that? That's
yeah.
look
I
it up.
think my memory is, I say I've never read them, but I've got a memory which I might be wrong though. Is that the kind of don't some sort of anti-tank guns turn up or something like that and save the day or something like that, and then in the aftermath they're then rushing off to go and hold the line somewhere else.
Do you know what? Due to the magic of editing, I'm going to pause and we're going to read it, and I'm going to come back. Hang on 2 seconds.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So, long and short of it is that they talk about the battle itself, which the scenario is based around.
Yeah.
And they talk about the longer history of that.
Yes,
is the way.
But they do talk about how the German mobile forces darted here and there in futile efforts to stem the tide, and that's what I remember.
You did.
Yeah.
You have got an excellent memory. This is why I want you to be my mortgage advisor, because you're gonna remember everything I tell you. You're not going to forget it. And years later, you'll still remind me of what I said and you said. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it's an interesting thing. I think we'll do a better effort of reading those. But I think in terms of tricks, I think they teach you an aspect of ASL that you didn't necessarily know. It makes you think about something kind of going forward. And yes, it can spoil a scenario if you're not aware of that trick, and it might also potentially swing the scenario one way or the other. It's almost like a Marmite, isn't it? You're either going to win it because you know the trick, or you're going to lose it because you didn't know the trick, and it's a bit of a shame, because if that's the way the scenario's been designed, and I don't know if it has,
Sure.
there is a percentage chance that that's all just a bit, it just happened to be that it was very dry and there was no flames in this at all, and that's what happened. But anyway, okay. Starter kit tournament. We've had a couple of bits of interest. A couple of people of interest. I need your email addresses. I need to contact you somehow. So if you'd like to be in the starter kit tournament in order to win some of the starter kit prizes we have available, drop me an email, aslscenarioarchive@gmail.com, or just get in touch with me. Find me on the Game Squad forums. You can reach out to me, whatever. But I need your details, or get someone to speak to me, or you can contact me through the Scenario Archive itself and the contact form. Just make sure you leave your email address for me, and we will get you in. Worst case, if we only get a couple of people, we can either do something where we'll get the same 2 people to play 3 scenarios and we'll review the scenarios, or you and I can be I don't particularly want to be the beating the starter kit players. I think that's a little bit unfair. Not that that's
It
given.
may not happen that way, of course.
Exactly. But it seems a bit wrong that you and I end up playing a final for the starter kit tournament. So I'd rather see 2 players play 3 different scenarios that we give them.
Presumably there are people who only play starter kit and they're very skillful at playing starter kit. I mean, sometimes we assume that they're new to the hobby, but that isn't necessarily the case.
Absolutely, exactly that. And that's all they want. And I think I've talked before about how starter kit players, they are passionate about that starter kit set. I mean, it's a if you look at the number of plays that Retaking Vierville gets on the archive and stuff like that, and Raw, it's huge. I mean, that scenario gets played a lot. So there's definitely talking about being played a lot. Another question came up on the YouTube channel around why we think that Korea doesn't get played very much, or doesn't get featured as much on other YouTube channels and things like that.
So we ran some figures, didn't we?
We did run some figures, yeah. So on average, we've figured out that the Korea scenarios get played on the archive about 50 times a year. That's kind of the rough rate. And it's obviously only been out a couple of years. And then we looked at, it's been out about 7 7 years.
Yeah.
And then we looked at Twilight of the Reich as a comparison. And that's had over 2 years about 110 play-ins, so about 55 a year.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Hakkapeliitta, very similar numbers. So they've had, I think it was, I mean, I've got the numbers somewhere, but it was similar numbers, about 50, 54 a year, something like that. So I think in terms of the play-in, I think it plays roughly the same amount as those specialist kind of modules. The interesting thing is you don't hear people talking about it a lot, and there's not seem to be very many classic scenarios that have come out of that pack. I think that's I couldn't name a scenario from that pack. I don't know if you could.
Well, only the ones we played. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Now, I'll put you on a spot now. Can you name any of the scenarios from Hakkapeliitta? Because we even play tested them. So, but I mean, we didn't know the names.
Yeah. So is there a fire and ice one?
Oh, that's a very good shout. That is a very good shout. I think there is a fire and ice. I'm just checking for you. I don't see it, but I thought there was. Let me see.
Was that perhaps one that didn't make the grade that we perhaps played?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
I'm struggling though. Isn't there one called Largo?
So through Fire and Ice and Fire and Ice. Hang on, let's have a look. So Fire and Ice was Finland at war, so that's a critical hit scenario.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a feeling that was the one that caused a little bit of. Through Fire and Ice is Friendly Fire Pack.
Okay. So no is the answer.
But I mean, to be fair, you did better than I did in terms of.
Isn't there one with the name Largo in it? Like Laagso or something, Largo or Largo?
Yes, Lagos assault guns, very good.
Okay.
Yeah, very good.
I think if you said them, I would kind of go, oh yeah, I do remember that.
Arctic Crossroads, I think, is one that 11th Company counterattack as well. And you're right that the Lagos assault guns is the most popular one, so that's the one there. But they've all had reasonable play-ins. So that was kind of interesting. Anyway, so I think in summary, I think it does get a fair bit of play, but it's a specialist subject, isn't it?
It's a specialist subject. I think that we tend to feel like, because we perhaps haven't played a lot, and perhaps even some of the people we know haven't played a lot. And I certainly know people who say they would never play a scenario from the Korean War. But just because we haven't played a lot doesn't mean there aren't people out there playing them and enjoying them. But it is specialist, and there's lots and lots of stuff that you don't need to read up specialist rules. And I think probably Hakkapeliitta is the same. There's a lot of snow in there, and there's skiing, and some people think, well, I don't need to play with those rules. Because I've got 3,000 other scenarios to work through with it. I don't need to check up on these additional rules. So I think the fact that they're kind of specialist is significant. But what makes specialist stuff fun, and actually Twilight of the Reich might be a bit like this, because there's a specialism there, isn't there, of train stations and built-up areas, it's sometimes quite fun to play like a series of them. So you're just in a little bit of a zone, aren't you, where you're in the snow, or you're in Korea, or you're in built-up, or Berlin, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Do you ever pang to play all scenarios in a pack? Is that something you ever like to try and do? I know we haven't done it, but
no, we've never done it. Do you know? You say we've never done it. I think when we used to play it way back in the old days, I think there were times when we nearly played everything in a journal, but we weren't setting out to do that.
Right.
We were just going, right, what do you fancy? Oh, look, there's another one in the journal that looks good.
Yeah, well, you got the journals out on your desk, and it's nice to be able to flick through it.
But David, with the cool, who lives in Bournemouth, the cool surname. Schofield. Sorry, I can't believe I couldn't remember his name. David Schofield. He liked to play them like that. I think we played Few Returned, like all of the Russian ones in sequence.
Right.
And actually, that was quite an interesting experience, because there was a story, there was a narrative that, although the scenarios were not directly connected, it was all a part of this the encirclement of Stalingrad, isn't it? And the overrunning of the weaker sort of Italian and Romanian troops or whatever. But this is specifically about Italian troops. And we played a few from that. I mean, you played 2 or 3 from that. but we literally played them all, and it was good.
I remember I turned up at your house and we played, I think, 3 on a weekend or something, and I think I got beaten in 3, and I think 2 of them were those, and it was miserable. I think I had 2 of the times it was the terrible Italians. I couldn't do anything with the Italians, and then you took on the Italians, and you thrashed me with these Italians. I was like, oh, I think there's nothing more demoralising.
So we literally played the same scenario both ways.
No, I think we were playing different ones.
Right.
Yeah,
different scenario. Yeah,
but I was like, no one can with the Italians. It's too hard. Like 6 morale, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then you just demoralize. You just, oh yeah, it was awful. But anyway, it wasn't dice or anything. You just outplayed me on them, I'm sure. We've got a subject from Toby. I asked him to talk about the difference and when you should consider crew exposed and button up tanks. I don't know if we should call this one "Let's hope Toby understands the rules," because he's got a question at the end. So we'll try and listen to his questions and see if we can help him out for once. So here's Toby. Okay. Take it away.
So I'm going to talk a bit about buttoned up tank. Well, sorry, not buttoned up tank. Buttoning up and crew exposing closed top AFVs and some hints about that. So, and some of it's common sense, but it's worth saying, I think. So generally speaking, the larger the scenario and the more AFVs they are, the more often you can unbutton. So, if you've got 30 AFVs or something in a 20 turn scenario, then you don't have to worry too much. And the converse is true, of course, as well. So in small scenarios, 5 or 6 turns, and if you've got 1 or 2 critical vehicles, that one Panther you're defending with the Germans, then that's when crew exposing becomes more risky. So you will tend to do it less often. It's also a truism that the lower value tanks you have, the more you can unbutton. So you can unbutton Panzer IVs generally more than you can Panthers or Tigers, or rather there's less risk in doing so, let's put it that way. And also I would say, when you're the defender, if the enemy enters from off board, you can nearly always risk being crew exposed at the start of the game, at least, because he's not going to be able to prep fire some shots into you to break you or anything. So that's a little sort of hint as the defender. As the attacker, I'll tell you when crew exposed is particularly useful. Well, I suppose actually smoke mortars, smoke discharges, those sorts of things. But bounding first fire shots, when you're hurtling around that flank, and particularly if you do your maths and you're thinking, my APCR shot, I get it on a 4, but at the moment I'm only going to hit on a 3. Well, that's when you're crew exposed to take your shot up to a 4. So attacking, often you'll crew expose on bounding fire shots to just add to their chance of hitting. And I'm just going to leave you with something that other people can discuss better than I. We want Jim Bishop or Klaas weighing in on this, which is the whirlwind issue that some people call it, which is this issue where you have a verbal, 20 firepower, and let's say it starts next to an American squad, and it's buttoned up, and then the first thing it does is it in its movement phase, it unbuttons and shoots. Now, the question is, does it get to shoot before the American squad can fire back? Because my understanding is there's lots of issues around this, and people say, "Oh, well, it doesn't cost a movement point to unbutton. It's sort of instantaneous." But I'm not sure what the rule actually is. Whether that unbutton shoot thing is requiring of a movement point, and even if it does, say it moves up and stops, and then unbutton shoots, does that I suppose if they had a bazooka, they'd be able to fire it. But anyway, all I'm saying is there's issues over this unbutton shoot business. And I'm not sure if there's been an official pronouncement on the legality of it. And that'll do for now.
All right. So, Martin, you got an answer for Toby?
I do not. Okay. My rule book is out of reach. And I'm sure Toby's looked at the rules. And if he doesn't understand it, I guarantee I won't.
So I think I would take a stab at it. I would play it that the buttoned up vehicle in its movement phase could, for 0 movement points, go crew exposed and take the first shot for 1 movement point, and would do that shot and would have that shot first. And I would play that the squad has no chance before the shot is taken to fire, simply because I think the rules say it doesn't take any movement points to go CE or buttoned up, and therefore you can just do that as part of your first move. For example, your first movement point would be unbutton and fire.
Essentially free. It's essentially free. You can just do it whenever you want, kind of thing.
I'm not saying I'm right. There will be better players than me that will tell us if that's right or wrong, but it's an interesting question. And also it's a great example to show that, expert players don't necessarily know the rules any better than you or I, Martin.
I think Toby knows a little bit better than me, but yeah. we all come to a point where we're not sure, don't we? I think that's true. So do you think that British tank commanders in Normandy would have been mostly crew exposed or buttoned up when in combat?
So I think they would be crew exposed, but
so the book I read, written by it was actually he had somebody write it for him, but he was telling him what to write, and he was the tank commander. He was told crew exposed all the time.
Really, yeah, because it's so little. I
mean, there were situations where you might button up, like under direct mortar fire or something like that. Right. But basically, all the time crew exposed. Right. Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting.
Yeah, made life risky. But.
Yeah, sudden death, I would imagine as well. There's not a lot of you're not escaping much there. We are also reading a book. We should start a Illuminating Rounds book club.
Do you know what? That is not a bad idea.
So this is a long time ago. I think I watched Breaking Bad, and I missed it when it first came out, and I watched it after it came out. People told me, you got to watch Breaking Bad. That was brilliant. I was like, I'll see it at some point. I feel like and then of course I watch it, and it's amazing. I tell everyone to watch it because it's a great show. All Hell Let Loose. The book. Do you remember the author's name? I'm not going to remember the author's name.
Max Hastings.
Max Hastings, of course. So I've got a copy of the book. What an amazing book! I don't know how far you've got through now, Martin. I've got to.
I'm behind you. Yeah, I've only just the parachutist's feet have just landed in Oslo.
Okay, all right.
That's as far as I've got. Yeah.
So what a book! What for? Giving you not quite bite size, but it's certainly manageable chunks of large starts. So, for example, there's a chapter to start off with around Poland, and then a chapter about Finland and the Norwegian section. And it's incredible because it gives you that overview, and then there's snippets of very personal stories kind of interwoven into what is the big macro picture going on. So it goes from the top level of, why is the British struggling to kind of defend Poland and what's going on there, down to the poor guy with the horses who's just been. I mean, it's just incredible book. So
it's really odd actually, because you just get sort of a postman in London said, we fed up with the Germans now or whatever. It's just some sort of odd insight into what was going through some people's minds.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And how I was fascinated to see that the evacuation that took place for the British, how they were like. The style of the people that were being evacuated from London didn't fit into the countryside folk at all, and how all the kids were a bit kind of feral compared to all the nice country kids. It's fascinating. So this is a book that is ridiculously well known, and most people who are interested in this kind of military history will be aware of it. But if you haven't come across it, I mean, we're reading it, we're enjoying it. Just go grab a copy of All Hell Let Loose, Max Hastings. What a book. That's my.
It's well researched. It's a side to. The thing is, and I always, because he deliberately says he's not going to focus on things that have been in his other books. He's written in depth about the strategic kind of progress of the war in a book that's equally thick, because it's a chunky book, isn't it? It is trying to get down to like what it felt like to be there. And the only problem with that is, of course, that there's millions of people experiencing it, and it's difficult to generalize, isn't it? I mean, we have our own sort of semi myths about it didn't matter how much Hitler bombed London, the British it made us more determined, kind of thing. But not every British person was thinking, "Oh, I'm even more determined to." Some British people were thinking, "Oh, cry, I don't want my children to get killed or whatever," And I think that's one of the difficulties of trying to understand something as vast as that war. But he certainly gets down to the level of, what this nurse said in Poland, or her description of tending to a dying child, kind of thing. It's very moving, actually.
It is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I mean, the one thing I'd say is don't read it late at night when you're struggling to comprehend something. Because I love to quote facts to you. I'm like, Martin, you won't believe what I found out. Only 5,000 Americans died in World War II. And you're like, no, don't be silly. And I'm like, I read it in a book. And you're like, no. I'm like, well, hang on a minute. And I go find the book and I find the sentence that I've read like the night before. And it says only 5 per 1,000 Americans have died, which is, of course, one death is a tragedy, of course. I mean, it was not just 5,000. There was hundreds of thousands, clearly. But it was like, so you got to kind of read it carefully. But a really good book. So I'll put a link down below if you want to get it off Amazon or whatever. I'll just there's some kind of affiliate to make us rich off this great book recommendation that no one else has heard. This little book that no one's aware of. But yeah, incredible. So we'll do that. Anything else, Martin, for you?
I think we're done.
Yeah, I'm going to go smile. West Ham won today. I've just come back from the West Ham game.
Excellent. So I thought you were in a good mood. Unusually good mood.
My toothache's got away. Yeah, it's life's good. Yeah, it's the first win of the season. So onwards and upwards. We beat the mighty Ipswich today.
Yeah.
You don't care.
I've got 3/4 of a bottle of wine downstairs and an empty fireplace. So I might go make a fire, get cozy up.
Throw the wine. Go drown that. Okay, go enjoy yourself. Thank you for the game. Well played today, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thanks,
cheers,
everybody.
guys. Thanks a lot.
Take care, all.
Bye.
Bye.